All right, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And it's been a while, but welcome to another episode of the Mr. Islam Answers Back live show. We got another good one for you this afternoon. We will be addressing some more or exposing some more of the false tactics and lies of Christian Prince. And again, notice what we're going to be addressing or dealing with, exposing the tactics, like I did in the last show. So we're technically will be offering a refutation, but really the footage that I'm using is from the brother. What's this brother's name? I just started subscribing to him. Right, I just started subscribing to the brother. Um, good brother. Seems like he's doing some good work out there. Brother Farid is his name. So I'm going to be using some of the footage that he has in his footage, but I'm going to be addressing the tactics, right? The refutation is there, so we're going to be addressing the tactics that that he uses, right? Right, we'll be addressing some of the
What
tactics
CP said?
that he uses, right? So that's where we'll be at with it, inshallah. All right. So, like we always do, like we always like to do, before let's go ahead and send out a couple of quick tweets. Make sure that everybody's aware that we have started the show. All right, so let me send out a quick tweet real quick. Let everybody know that we have begun the show. All right. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and deal with that. All right, let's go ahead and deal with that. So, as I said, let's see, let's pull up this video. So, first of all, like I said, first of all, let's deal with the tactic. Let me explain the tactic that we're going to be addressing here, right? One of the tactics that not only Christian Prince uses, but I noticed that some so-called anti-Islamists, anti-Muslims like to use is this conflation of what some scholar may have said, whether modern or classical past scholar, right? Or some tafsir or something like that, right? Or some Muslim from the past may have said, right? And try to conflate that with the Quran and act like what that person is saying is what the Quran means, right? Now, I've spoken about this before. I've spoken about this before on past shows where we addressed how a lot of times this is one of the tactics they'll do. They'll say, yeah, the Quran says this, right? The Quran actually doesn't say what they said, but so you say, okay, show me where it says that. And then instead of showing you what it said, they say, okay, let me show you this hadith. Or let me show you this tafsir. Or this scholar. And like, whoa, slow down. You said the Quran says. You didn't say that this scholar said or this hadith said. You said the Quran says. So if the Quran says, show me what the Quran says. Don't take me to some scholar. That's not what the Quran says. That's some scholar saying. If you say the Quran says, then show me what the Quran says. Don't say, oh, Quran says, oh, well, here, let me show you this person's opinion about what this verse means. No, that's not what the Quran says then. Right? Let me show you this tafsir that interprets the. No, that's not what the Quran says then. Right? An interpretation is an interpretation. An opinion about a verse is an opinion about a verse. Right? That doesn't mean that's what the Quran says. So this is the game that they play. And a lot of times I think that would fall under the fallacy of appealing to authority. Right? I think it would be like a type of appeal to authority, which is a logical fallacy. In other words, In other words, well, this so-and-so said this about his interpretation of the Quran, so therefore that's what the Quran must mean. No, no, no. That's a logical fallacy. That's not what the Quran must mean. That's that person's interpretation or opinion about whatever verse is under discussion. And so that's the tactic that we are going to see being used here and exposed by used by Christian Prince, and we'll expose it here. You see what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Well, no, that's not the purpose of the tafsir, right? The purpose of a tafsir is an attempt to try to interpret, but that doesn't mean that that's what it means, right? A tafsir doesn't mean that that's exactly what the Quran means, which is why when you look at tafsirs, you can look at tafsirs. Matter of fact, which I'm going to expose today, I'm going to show a tafsirs of the same exact verse, and you will see how they have a varying view or opinions about the verse. So no, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to try to help you understand as best as they can. But that doesn't mean what they interpret is the law. That doesn't mean that what they interpreted is exactly what it is. It's an interpretation, right? Same thing with the Bible, right? Same thing with the Bible. You can look at the concise meanings of the Bible, and you can look at Schofield. You can look at Matthew Henry's interpretation, and you'll see that they're saying different things about the same exact verse. Does that mean that who do I choose? Do I choose Matthew Henry? Do I choose Schofield? Whose interpretation do I choose then? Right? So interpretation is just that. It's an interpretation. It doesn't mean that you got it right because you understand it or comprehend it or interpret it a certain way. No, it's your interpretation of it. Which is why, as I always like to say, I always like to go by what, I always like to go by what this text itself actually says. You see? Well, that's being petty. So it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really nothing we need to worry about whether he calls Muslims Abduls or whatever the case. That's just him being, who cares? It's not really relevant. So let's get right into it, everybody. Let's get into it. Let's get into part 2 of the Christian Prince deception. All right, let's get into it. So as I said, I'm going to be using some of the footage that the brothers, so I'm giving the credit to the brother. The brother is Farid Responds, right? Seems like the brother's doing some good work, so I like to give credit where credit is due. So as I said, he already offered the refutation. I'm going to offer my own as well, but I want you to focus more so on the tactics and lies, right? I'm exposing the tactic. This refutation here was easy to do. The brother Farid did it. There's another video with him and Muhammad Hijab also addressing this claim that Christian Prince is making here, that supposedly the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, said that Paul was a true prophet. And again, this is the tactic and lie that he used, because the Prophet Muhammad never said it, nor did Allah ever say it. So what he does, he goes to some, and not only that, but he even shows that the tafsir doesn't even really support him. And I'm going to show you that too. I'm going to show you how the tafsir that he uses, which is the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, that it doesn't even really straight confirm what he's saying either, right? So he's saying Ibn Kathir is saying it, and well, you'll see. So we're going to expose that. We're going to expose that lie and that tactic as well. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. All right, and let's get right into this deception. The deception of Christian Prince. You guys ready? Let's do it.
Paul in the Quran is a messenger of God.
All right, let me get it from the beginning. Here we go. Let's see.
Thank you. You said Paul is a fake person. He never met Jesus, correct? Let me get you busted, you idiot. Hold on, stupid. Let me mute you. Liar, filthy, who insult Paul because they are ignorant, when Paul in the Quran is a messenger of God.
All right, stop right there. You heard it, right? Paul in the Quran is a messenger of God. You heard it, right? You heard him say it. Now the brother, like I said, the brother Farid responds to it and exposes him just as well. So I just want to jump in and just kind of piggyback on what he said. But again, I want you really, my video here is more so about the tactic, the false tactic that he uses to deceive his audience, as I told you before, to deceive his ignorant Christian bigoted audience. And if you're a Muslim who's not sharp enough to catch it. If you haven't really studied these issues, he might be able to pull one over on you as well if you don't know any better. Okay? So he might be able to pull one over you if you don't go and check the tafsir yourself, which I'm going to show. I'm going to show you that when we go to Ibn Kathir, you see here he has Ibn Kathir on the screen, right? He's using the tafsir, but I'm going to show you that he even is dishonest in his use of Ibn Kathir's tafsir. Why? You're going to be amazed when you see it. You're going to be amazed when you see it. See? So what the brother Farid did, he exposes it, but he goes in to show that, it wasn't actually Ibn Kathir that said it, that Paul is a prophet. He shows that that this narration that Ibn Kathir uses doesn't go back to the prophet. It goes back to a person named, what's the guy's name? Shuaib al-Jubai, I believe his name is the person who makes this narration. So it doesn't even go back to the prophet. So that was his argument there. So I'm going to show you, number one, the tactic. You heard the tactic is what? To claim that the Quran says something, right? When you look at the Quran itself, it doesn't say what he said. You're not going to find a verse that says that Paul is a prophet or a messenger. You're not going to find that. The Quran doesn't mention Paul's name at all. You're not going to find where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, mentions Paul's name either. So watch what we call the switch and bait. He says Quran says something, then he switches out the Quran and brings in tafsir of Ibn Kathir, which is not the Quran. Somehow that means because Ibn Kathir said something, which I'm going to show you, it's not actually Ibn Kathir saying it either. But somehow, let me bring here, Quran says something. Okay, show me Quran. Then he switches the Quran for the tafsir and acts like the tafsir is saying what the Quran is saying and vice versa. No, not right. That's not it. Okay? So he's using Ibn Kathir, right? Let's see how he then reads Ibn Kathir. But notice, I'm going to show you that he didn't read all of Ibn Kathir. That there's a part of Ibn Kathir that, in fact, it actually comes before this part that he shows here, showing you that he's dishonest. Showing you that, as I told you in the last video, that he's omitting parts of these writings so that way his audience, if his audience doesn't know it, they'll never see it, right? So he omits, he leaves out. Like, remember we showed you in the last video when the brothers, the Muslim hunters allegations, they exposed him how he would say something, but then he won't mention the other parts of the very same document that refutes his claim, right? He won't show the part where whatever scholar he was quoting from will then say that opinion was wrong, or this opinion is false, or the scholars reject it, right? He won't show that part. He'll just show where they might mention the issue at hand, and then a few paragraphs or a few sentences later, then the scholar will say, but that opinion is wrong. That's false, or you know what I mean? Like he won't show that part. He'll just show the one part and then have his audience thinking that, oh, look, the Muslim scholars agree that this is what it is and that's what it is. And see, yes, you see, I'm exposing Islam. I'm exposing Islam, and he's not exposing anything but his own damn self. See, because a few sentences later, the writer says, but that opinion is false or wrong or weak or fabricated or whatever, and he leaves that out. He doesn't show his audience that part, which is why I told you before, that's why a lot of times he will only show them the Arabic text instead of showing them the whole thing. So now here's a case where he shows the English text and he uses the same tactic. So even though he shows the English text, he still leaves off the part that will refute his argument. Let's take a look.
Did you hear what CP said? Paul in the Quran is a messenger of God.
That's the brother Farid talking. Right?
CP didn't say Paul in the Quran.
14,
Let's get to it.
And bingo, we are here.
Chapter 36, verse 14. Keep that in mind, guys. This is the verse that supposedly proves that Paul is a messenger of God.
Listen carefully. Everybody, read with me carefully. Chapter 36, verse number 14.
Okay, so look, the brother showed it, the brother Farid showed it, but let me show it here as well, right? Chapter 36, verse, excuse me for a second. Chapter 36, verse 14, right? We know this already because I've already addressed this before, right? I've addressed this issue before, but let's show it again, just so you can all see the verse. And his followers, any of his followers who are here, any of his cheerleaders, I want you to see it as well. I want you to see it as well, so that way, you know, there won't be any any problems here, right? So I want you to see it as well. Okay. All right, so let's go to it right here. We go, 36:14. Right? This is the verse that supposedly says Paul is a messenger of God, right? Allah's confirming it, he says. Here's the verse. Notice you don't see the name Paul anywhere. Right? We can look at Muhammad. We got the translations. They show all the different translations. None of the translations, Paul's name is not mentioned. Even in Arabic, Paul's name is not there. Okay? It says, what is the meaning translated in English? Lo, or when we sent to them 2 messengers, they rejected them, but we strengthened them with a 3rd. They said, truly, we have been sent on a mission to you. First of all, there's no names mentioned at all. All it says is that some messengers were sent. There was 2 messengers sent, they got rejected. So a 3rd one got sent along with them, but doesn't mention anybody's names. Definitely doesn't say Paul. Definitely the name Paul is not there. It's not in Arabic, and as you can see, the Arabic is right here on the screen. So if anybody who knows how to read Arabic, you want to confirm it for yourself. The name Paul is not there in Arabic. Here's the transliteration, right? Here's the transliteration for it. And even in the transliteration, you see the name Paul in any shape, form, or fashion is not there. Ball or whatever name they think means Paul in Arabic, it's not there. You're not going to find it, right? You see that? It's not there at all. Okay? So, what does Christian Prince do? Let's listen.
Let us see what they say. Paul, he never met Jesus. Paul is not even, he's a fabricator. Paul, but their prophet, he said, Paul is a messenger of Allah. He is sent by Allah. And not only that, he made miracles in the name of the Messiah Jesus.
So who is saying this? According.
All right. So that's Christian Prince's claim. That supposedly this is what Islamic literature says. Islamic literature is claiming, that Paul is a messenger of God and he's doing miracles and basically saying that somehow the Quran affirms Paul, right? That the Quran is affirming that Paul is really a messenger of a true person from God, because Muslims, we reject Paul. We say Paul was not a follower of Jesus. He went, which is what I remember that show I did where I said Paul was Antichrist, and I proved it. I showed it and proved it that Paul was Antichrist in his teachings. A lot of his teachings contradicted Christ. So I showed that, right? So many Muslims, we say that. That's what we say. We say, no, Paul is rejected. But Christian Prince says, no, Paul is supposedly affirmed in the Quran. And as you see, Paul's name is not mentioned at all. So now Christian Prince is going to, as I say, he's going to do the switch and bait. He's going to do the switch and bait. He's going to run to the tafsir, right? He's going to run to the tafsir of Ibn Kathir and make the claim that that's where it's at. Let's listen.
Why your God and your prophet don't agree with you?
Explain. How come your prophet do not know about Paul, that he is a bad person? Instead, he make it clear that he is a messenger of God in the Quran.
He make it.
You said that, right? Another brother Farid is saying, you heard him, right? He makes it that he's a messenger in the Quran. Meanwhile, the Quran doesn't mention his name. So just on the face of it right there, he's a liar, right? Just right there on the face of it, we see he's lying because Paul's not there. So if you never read any hadith or any tafsir, Paul's name is not there, right? At all. So how is he claiming that the Quran and the messenger of Allah affirm Paul as a messenger when he's not even, his name's not even there? The name Paul is not there at all. Okay, the name Paul is not there at all. So, like I said, he's going to now try to use the tafsir to make his claim, but I'm going to expose the tactic. This is the switch and bait, as I said, but we're going to expose the tactic of how he doesn't show you everything the tafsir says, because if he was to do that, it would refute his point. If he was to show you what the tafsir fully says, he would refute his own point. See, but we're going to bring it out. We're going to show it. Here we go.
Clear that Paul is a messenger of God in the Quran.
It says, narrated that the following is the names of the 3 messengers. From Wahab ibn Sulaiman, from Shu'aib al-Ja'abi, the names of the first 2 messengers were Sham'un and Yohanna, and the name of the third was Polos, and the city it was.
Okay, now, right? So notice he goes to this part of Ibn Kathir. Now I'm going to expose the tactic. How he omitted a portion of Ibn Kathir's statement before Ibn Kathir quotes or quotes this part, right? There's a part before this that Ibn Kathir shows that there's a different narration, and that narration mentions 3 other people, and none of the names is Ballus or whatever. I don't even know how Ballus adds up to Paul anyway, right? I don't even know how Ballus adds up to Paul, but for some reason they want to all claim that Ballus is supposed to be Paul, right? Doesn't matter. Because like I said, as I've shown in my other videos when I addressed this before, there are like 3 different narrations that show 3 of each one has like a different name, meaning that this is and none of them come from the prophet anyway. None of them come from the prophet, none of them come from Allah, right? And they all are contradicting the names. And by the way, only one of them has this version with Ballus. All the other 3 have 3 different other names. So even if you wanted to try to get some type of consensus and say, well, look, there's three out of 4 mention Ballus. So maybe Ballus has a point. But no, they don't. You can't even say 3 out of 4 mention Ballus. You can't even say 2 out of 3. Only one of them has this Ballus. The other 3 have 3 different names. And none of them have that name that's synonymous to Ballus or something that even equals to Paul. Okay? But let me show you how Christian Prince is a deceiver and a liar. Okay? Let's go to the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, everyone. Here we are, as you can see on the screen. The tafsir of Ibn Kathir. Right? Of the verse that we are talking about, chapter 36, verse 14. Okay? Now, let me show you the part that Christian Prince left out. We're going to expose you, Christian Prince. Let's look at the part that he left out. Okay? That's the translation of the verse, right? Verse 14 is the one in question. So now the tafsir starts, right? The story, right? You guys can see that? The story of the dwellers of the town and their messengers, a lesson that those who belied their messengers were destroyed. Right? So it says, Allah says, O Muhammad, tell your people who disbelieve in you about a similitude of the dwellers of the town when there came messengers to them. It says, in the reports that he transmitted from Ibn Abbas, Ka'b al-Ahbar and Wahab bin Munahbih, Ibn Ishaq, who's reporting this? Ibn Ishaq reported that it was the city of Antioch, okay, in which there was a king called Antiochus, the son of Antiochus, who used to worship idols. Allah sent to him 3 messengers. Listen to the names. This is the part that Christian Prince left off. He didn't quote this part. He goes to the part that he's quoting that I showed you in the video is after this. If he was an honest researcher, if he was trying to really be honest to his people, he would have shown them that, look, the Muslim sources have different names. At the least, he could have said, hey, look, the Muslim sources have different names. So we can't really confirm if Ballus is really Paul or if even those are the 3 names, right? That would be what the honest person would do. You see? The honest person would say, well, look, I did my research and the Muslim sources show different names. Ibn Kathir mentions 2 narrations. He doesn't do that. Instead, he goes to the second one and ignores this one right here. Look at the names that Ibn Kathir mentions, right? It says Allah sent in 3 messengers whose names were Sadiq, Saduk, and Shalom. There's no Ballus. There's no Ballus. There's no Paulus. There's no nothing that even is close to the name Paul at all. Sadiq, Saduk, and Shalom. And he disbelieved in them. It was also narrated from Buraidah bin al-Husayb, Ikrimah, Qatada, and Az-Zuhri that it was Antioch. Notice this. Some of the imams were not sure that it was Antioch. as we shall see below after telling the rest of the story, if Allah wills. So now, when you scroll down into Ibn Kathir, here's where Ibn Kathir goes to the part that that Christian Prince wants to start with. But this shows you his dishonesty. Why didn't he show you the whole entry of Ibn Kathir that mentions that, look, Ibn Kathir shows two narrations. One narration mentions these three names, and another one that Ibn Kathir shows mentions these three other names. So there's a conflict. So you can't confirm if it's Sadiq, Saduk, Shalom, or the names that are shown that includes one of the names as Ballus. And even this one, the names in the second one are different from the first one. Look at this. So this is his dishonesty. Why didn't he show you both? Why didn't he show you both? Because you know why, everyone? If he showed you both, it would refute his argument. He would not be able to say that the Quran says Paul is there. See? He wouldn't be able to, even though he can't say it anyway because the Quran doesn't say that, but he wouldn't even be able to try to build on the idea from the narration, because he would have to acknowledge that Ibn Kathir mentions two narrations that have three different other names. So if he's going to run by the claim that, well, what Ibn Kathir means, what Ibn Kathir says is what the Quran means, then he would have to say, well, Ibn Kathir also said these other names, so it may not be Paul. So no, instead, he keeps that from his audience. He keeps that from his audience and instead jumps to this second one, as you see right here on the page. And I'm keeping both on the screen so you can see that he would have had to have read the first narration first. This proves to you that he's dishonest. This proves to you that he's using a deceptive tactic, the tactic of omitting other facts that would refute or discount his argument. See everybody on the screen? He would have had to have read the first one first with the name Sadiq, Saduk, and Shalom. Then comes the second one of Shuaib al-Jabai, right? Then comes that one. So why did he start with this one? Why did he start with the one that was given by Shuaib? Because he's dishonest. That's why. That's his trick tactic. Okay? So look, here's the second one. Now, Ibn Kathir goes on to, and as I told you guys before, and I want you haters to understand, stop misusing Ibn Kathir. I've told you so many times that what Ibn Kathir does is he will show you the different interpretations that are available. That doesn't mean he agrees with them. That doesn't mean that that's what he's saying himself. He will show you the different interpretations that are out there. And then many times what he does is that he goes on to then give his opinion or give what is considered the strongest opinion. So what many of these people do is many times is they take, what Ibn Kathir is showing, and they take a portion of it and act like, this is what it is. Excuse me, alhamdulillah. Right? So like Christian Prince just did here. He took one mention of what Ibn Kathir was showing. Ibn Kathir, and these are not Ibn Kathir's words. He's showing what these other people from the past had said. So notice Ibn Kathir is willing to show you that they have different opinions. He's willing to do that because it's a book of interpretation. Duh. So he's willing to show you, look, different opinions and interpretations are out there. Right? Ibn Ishaq had this narration in his writings that had the name Sadiq, Saduk, Shalom. Right? And then he goes on to say Ibn Jurayj got information from Wab bin Sulayman from Shuaib al-Jabai, who has a narration that has these names. Ibn Kathir is showing you that there are different interpretations out there. And that is the nature of interpretations. Everybody may not see it the same. You see? Everybody may not see it the same. That's why it's best a lot of times to let the Quran just speak for itself. If Allah didn't mention the names, then they weren't important. Just let it be what it is. Some messengers were sent, they got rejected. He sent a third one with them. That's all that matters. Their names obviously weren't important, because if they were, Allah would have mentioned it, right? If the names of those messengers were important, Allah would have said it. Just like when he does mention in names of messengers. When he mentions Jesus, when he mentions Moses, Noah, right? Dawood, etc. He mentions them by name because clearly they were important. It was important to know their names. It was important to know their names, so he mentions them. Other things, he just says there was a person like this example. He sent some messengers and they got rejected, so he sent a third. Clearly, who they were wasn't important. Who they were obviously was not important enough for Allah to mention their names. So these names here, as you can see, it's not from Allah, and it's not from the messenger. And therefore, this is why you have the conflict. That's why you have the conflict, because clearly they had nothing from Allah or the messenger to confirm the names. So that's why you see different names in each of these different narrations and reports. Okay? So this is one of the tactics. This is the switch and bait tactic, everybody. The switch and bait. As you saw, he said the Quran said something. It doesn't say. He can't show that the Quran says it. So then he switches the Quran and baits you with the hadith or the tafsirs, rather, excuse me. Right? He switched and baited you. Quran says something. Oh yeah, let me see. Here, let me remove the Quran and let me bring this tafsir now so that way I can show you. But wait a minute. Hold up. You said Quran says. You didn't say tafsir says. You said Quran says. You said Quran says. So I want to see the Quran say Paul is a messenger of Allah. It doesn't say that he's a messenger of Allah. And nor does the tafsir either. Because these tafsirs are in conflict. It's showing you different interpretations. Okay? So this is the trick that he used on his audience. And again, Muslims, if you don't know any better, he might trick you too. If you don't go to the source and look at it yourself too, which I recommend you do, you might get tricked too. But if you go and look, you say, oh, wait a minute. Ibn Kathir said that, look, there's some other names here. Sadiq, Saduk, Shalom. You see? And then when you read further, Ibn Kathir goes on to say, you know, about the discrepancy about whether the city was Antioch. They're not even sure if it was Antioch. They don't know. It's conjecture. It's conjecture. Allah didn't tell you what city it was. Allah didn't say who the three names were because it wasn't that important. Obviously. The lesson was really more so about the people rejecting messenger sent to them and how Allah tries to give you a chance and send, you know, another one to try to get the message to you, so that way you have no way of argument when you get the punishment for rejecting. See? But none of these go to the messenger of Allah. None of these are related that the Prophet Muhammad taught that the names were these people. None of them say that. None of them are from the messenger of Allah. Okay? And it's not even Ibn Kathir himself saying that. He's telling you what these other people said. Ibn Kathir is telling you what these other people. This is not Ibn Kathir saying, yes, this is the tafsir. It means these people. He's telling you what these other people have said. Okay? So that's the switch and bait tactic. All right? Now here, let me show you another tafsir. Now this is from a different tafsir, but just to show you that the names, clearly the names are not known. They don't know who these names are. And that proves that none of this is from Allah or even the Prophet. So then I'm going to take you to, look at this, everybody. That now I'm going to show you some other names. That, look at this. Here's a tafsir. Now, by the way, let me make it clear that this tafsir is allegedly the tafsir of Ibn Abbas, right? Now, but this is not, it's not confirmed. There's doubt. This is doubtful if this Tanwir al-Mikbas is from Ibn Abbas. So don't even, so if, you know, don't, you know, it's not, you can't really bring it like as if it's really reliable or strong, because there's doubts. The scholars tell us that, you know, it's doubtful if this is actually from Ibn Kathir. But nonetheless, I still want to show you that, look, there's no consensus that Paul is mentioned, that Paul is a messenger. Here is the alleged tafsir of Ibn Abbas. Again, the alleged tafsir of Ibn Abbas. Can you guys see it? All right. Here's the alleged tafsir of Ibn Abbas. Look at the names that he mentioned. This is the tafsir. As you can see right here on the screen, it's chapter 36, Yasin, verse 14. Look at the tafsir, what this says. It says, we sent unto them two apostles. Now look at these names, completely different names. Simon the Canaanite and Thomas. And they denied them both. So we reinforced them with a third. We strengthened them with Simon Peter. who confirmed the message conveyed by the other two apostles, and they said, lo, we have been sent unto you. So here now are three different names even further. So we got Sadiq, Saduk Shalom. We got Samun, Yauna, and Bolus, right? But let's not stop there, everybody. Let's not stop there. So notice Paul is not even the common denominator. They can't even argue and say, well, at least Paul is mentioned, like I said. At least he's mentioned in 3 out of 4 or something like that. Where maybe you could say, well, it must be something because at least all of them commonly mention the name Paul or Paulus. They don't. They don't. They don't do that. All right. So let me show you. Let's look further. All right. Let's look further. What am I looking for? Okay. So, what am I missing? Wait. So, yeah. So basically when we look, we see that some of the other works that are out there, they have even still yet other names. Right? That's the one from Ibn Abbas, as you see there on the screen. By the way, let me take a moment to say that for all my Patreon supporters, for those who support me on Patreon, these notes will be available, like I said, for exclusively to my Patreon supporters. So if you would like to be able to access these notes for yourself and your personal use, join my Patreon, become one of my Patreon supporters, and you will have access to these notes. So you can print them out and have them without just having to, take it off the video. You can actually print them out and keep them for your own personal use as well. Okay. So let me see. Let me show you where some of the other works mention still other names, like have even still further names that are different from those names right there. Right. Let's see. Give me a moment to pull that up. All right, pull that up real quick. Let's see. All right, let me see here. Just give me a moment, everybody. Hold on. Let's see. That would be. Give me a moment. Hold on. Because I can show you like where Tabari and others, they mention these other names. Yeah, let me see. Here we go. Right here. Here we go. Muslim responses. Right? I'm gonna use that brother's work right there. All right. Hold on a second. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not it. Bear with me. Hold on. We got the notes right there. Let's see here. I'm going to show you how, and I've showed this before, but I just want to reiterate it, to show you how even some of the other works still show different, like still three, like each one has like 3 different names. Like none of the names are, none of the names are synonymous. You know what I mean? None of the names have any common denominator at all. None of them. So how they try to make any kind of argument off that is amazing to me. Let's see here. Just bear with me, guys. Bear with me. I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you. Let's see. Hold on. Just hold a second. Give me a moment. I got you, buddy. Let's see. Man, I had it too. I had my notes set up. Man. Just been. Hold on. Let's see. Teachings? Well, no, I don't think that's the one. Teachings. Hold on a second. Hold on. I know I keep saying hold on, but I'm just trying to pull it up. Hold on. I got it for you right here. Okay. Let's see. Is it this one? Yeah, this one I think has it. Here we go. Yeah, I got it. Okay, there we go. Let me just get it on the screen for you, and we'll go from there. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, I got it for you. All right. So, by the way, I want to give the credit where I always like to give the credit where the credit is due. All right. This is from the site called Islam Reigns. Refutation of the Christian lie that Paul is a prophet in the Quran. What I want to bring your attention to, because he's basically putting forth the same argument that we use, but I just want to show you where. And again, I've showed you this before in the past, anyway. Okay, I've showed you this before in the past. But here's what some of the other scholars had said. So here we see that Tabari mentions the Saduk Shalom, right? Some other ones have Shamon and Yahuna, right? That was the other one there. And then we see that they got these other names here, Saman and Yahya, right? And then that one doesn't have the Sadiq and Saduk names. So as I said, it's like each one of these has each one has these different names that they're not even synonymous. All of them have like 3 different names in the 3 or 4 different reports, right? And he also shows, like I showed you, what the alleged tafsir of Ibn Abbas says, which has completely different names in it as well. Okay? Which has completely different names in it as well. Okay? So this here is the real deception and deceptive tactics of Christian Prince. As we've showed before, leaving off, right? Leaving off certain things, right? Leaving off certain things within the same text, within the same document. That's deceptive. That's deception. That's trickery there. That's being dishonest to leave off something, especially when that portion that you leave off doesn't support your argument. Right? Your argument is supposedly that the Quran says that Paul is confirmed or affirmed, but then you give the source that supposedly says it, but you ignore that same source says that, look, other interpretations show that there's these other names that are there. So these are the blatant tactics that he uses, right? The argument itself is refuted, but I want you to focus again on the tactic. You must admit that Christian Prince was being deceptive here. And not only that, but that he lied outright, that the Quran does not say that Paul is a messenger of Allah, that Allah doesn't say it, nor does the prophet. He couldn't, and there's nothing that he could show that the prophet said it, yet you heard his own words that your prophet said that Paul is this. Allah says that Paul is this. The Quran says that Paul, but that's not true. That's not true. So you must admit, even if you're one of his cheerleading followers, you have to admit that he's wrong here. You have to admit that he is not, he was incorrect, that he's not giving you the facts here. He's not giving you the truth. You have to. There's no way you can get around it, right? There's no way that you can get around the fact that his claim does not match the evidence, and the evidence does not match his claim. You can't get around that. It's right there. It's right there for all of you to witness it with your own eyes, that the man is dishonest in his claims. No way around it. I'm sorry. There's no way around that. Okay? So as I said, the brother Farid responses did a good job in exposing and refuting the argument itself. Right? He did a good job in refuting the argument itself. But I wanted you to see the tactic. This is about exposing the tactic, how he not what he's doing to deceive them, but how he's doing it. And as we showed in the last video before, where we dealt with his tactics, was to only show the Arabic text, right, and not let his audience see the English of it, and then tell them what it allegedly says. And even in the Arabic, he's leaving out stuff. So now he does it again. Obviously, that's his habit. Obviously, he has a habit of deceit and falsehood. So he also does it when he uses the English. He doesn't show his audience the full text, as you see here. He started with this part of Ibn Kathir, and as I showed you, he could not have passed the part that I showed you first, where it mentions the 3 other names, because that part came first. In the text of Ibn Kathir, that part where he mentions the 3 other names, that came first. So that means he skipped over it to only show his audience this part. And I'm not giving him the benefit, because there's no way he could have missed it. So in other words, I'm not saying that he made a mistake or he overlooked it. No. He had to purposely leave it out. He had to purposely hide it from his audience to make you think that, oh, he's such a smart man and look how he's exposing Islam. No. He's playing you guys for idiots. He's playing on your hatred and your bigotry of Islam. And in so doing, misleading you with his cheap and shoddy work by leaving off information, omitting information that's in the same text. That's a dishonest liar right there. That's a deceitful person blatantly doing that right there, as you see. Okay? And again, he's claiming, and notice the arguments too. He's making all these outrageous claims. Allah said that Paul is. Your prophet confirms Paul. No, he doesn't. Shuaib al-Jabai is saying this. That's not the prophet saying. And again, and Jabai doesn't get it from the prophet. It doesn't say that he got this from the prophet. He didn't get it from the prophet, obviously. None of the people who mentioned the names, these different names, really go back to the prophet. None of those narrations that say the 3 different names, Sadiq, Shalom, Yahuna, Simon, Peter, Simon of this, and Thomas, none of them are said to be that the prophet said to us. The prophet taught us. The prophet relayed to us. None of them are even from the prophet at all, which, of course, is where the confusion comes at. None of them are from Allah. Remember what Allah says, as I remind you, brothers and sisters, all the time, in Surah 4, verse 82. Had it been from any other than Allah, you will find in it many contradictions. These contradictions in the 3 names, each one different in different reports, shows you that it's not from Allah. It's not from Allah. So sorry, Mr. Liar, Christian Prince. Allah does not say anything about Paul. The Prophet Muhammad didn't say anything about Paul. And you lied. The Quran does not mention Paul at all. You lied. And as I said in my previous shows, I know he's always calling out Muslims to debate, right, on on his phone call show. But as I said, please, any haters any haters here who are supporters of Christian Prince, because they like to come to the channel and leave comments. Oh, why don't you go on his channel? Well, doesn't everybody already go to his channel? Tell him to come to my channel. Better yet, tell him let's debate in public. As I said on the last show, tell him let's debate in public, face to face, live, in person debate. If he's really that much of a threat to Islam, then come out and let's debate face to face, where it can't be edited. The mic can't be cut off. You can't be muted. Right? You got to just because it's live, so you got to just stand. You got to stay in the ring. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Nobody to save you. Nobody to cut the mic off. Nobody to cut off the screen, cut off your camera, cut off your footage, disconnect you. None of that, because you're gonna be right there, live, face to face, standing in the paint, nowhere to go. So whatever happens, people gonna see it. So like I said, tell him that if he wants to debate, I'm willing to debate in public, face to face. Like I told him years ago, face to face, we're gonna do it. No shows, no phone calls, no, face to face debate. So if you want to show your audience, your fans, that you're Mr. Tough Guy and you can destroy Islam and you refuting Islam, show them how brave you are by doing a face-to-face debate. Matter of fact, hell, I'll even go out and see if I can raise the money for that debate. I'm sure the people will support for that. All right? So, again, that's what I want you to be aware of. The switch and bait tactic, where they will claim that the Quran says something. And then instead of showing you that the Quran actually says it, they switch out the Quran and bring in something else. Bring in the opinion of a scholar. Bring in a tafsir that has other opinions and interpretations. But they won't be able to show you that the Quran actually says what they claim it says. They will use the opinion of so-and-so and conflate it with the Quran and act like, oh, well, this guy's interpretation is what the Quran means. No. This guy's opinion of this verse or whatever means that's what Allah is saying. No, it's not. That's what that person is saying. That doesn't mean that's what Allah said. That means that's what that person said. Doesn't mean what Allah says. At all. At all. All right. So basically, that's what this whole video was about, mostly, right? He was just dealing with the claims that the Quran supposedly said that Paul, as you already heard at the beginning, that Paul is there, right? The Quran mentions Paul, and Ibn Kathir says it and all that. But as you can see, that's not the case. Ibn Kathir, as I showed you the actual entry of Ibn Kathir. I showed you the full entry of Ibn Kathir right here, right? This is the full, complete entry of Ibn Kathir on that verse, chapter 36, verse 14, as you see here, right? Ayat 13 to 17, and they address, of course, they address 14 right in there. So I'm showing you the whole thing, right? The first part, as you see right here, is where Ibn Kathir first mentions that this report is supposed to be transmitted from Ibn Abbas, not the Prophet Muhammad, from Ibn Abbas, Ka'b al-Akhbar, Huwab bin Munahbih, to Ibn Ishaq. Then Ibn Ishaq is the one that reports it, that it is this. Right? That is this, city of Antioch, supposedly, and the names are these names here, Sadiq, Saduk, Shalom. Okay? Then Ibn Kathir goes on to mention the next one, that Ibn Jurayj, not the Prophet Muhammad, Ibn Jurayj, Wab bin Sulayman, and Shuaib al-Jaba'i mentions these other names, Shamun, Yahuna, and Balas. Right? And then, as we saw from other tafsirs like Qurtubi, shows that Tabari has these names: Sadiq, Saduk, Shalom, Shamun, Yahuna. Al-Nakash has Saman and Yahya. We showed you Ibn Abbas has these other completely different names: Simon the Canaanite, Thomas, and then Simon Peter. So no matches at all to Sadiq, Saduk, Shalom, Yahuna, Samun. No, right? So there it is. But that's the tactic that you have to be aware of, right? You have to be aware to catch that tactic that he tries to use. And many people like him. I've experienced that from others too, trying to do the same thing, trying to switch and bait and say, "Oh, Quran." But what's weird about it is that he speaks as if he, you know what I mean, as if he really thinks he has the argument, which is interesting. How could a person who is omitting information, who is knowingly omitting information, speak with such confidence as if he has the argument? Like he's saying it with such confidence that he know, like as if he knows it's really there, as if he's so sure that the Quran actually says Paul's name, that Paul is a prophet, right? Is he that incompetent that he actually thinks that the tafsir means what Allah? You know what I mean? Like, is he that incompetent? Is that why he speaks? Like, it sounds like he's so confident in his argument that he knows that yes, the Quran is confirming Paul. Let me show you. How could he be when, again, Ibn Kathir showed you that it wasn't just those three names? You know what I mean? Like, how could he be that confident? Because even the tafsir of Ibn Kathir doesn't say, yes, this is it. He says, no, look, these reports have these three names, and this other report has these three names. So it's really amazing to me. Maybe he's self-deluded. Maybe he's self-deluded. Maybe he's so deluded by his own arguments that he doesn't even see the error of his ways and of his arguments. Perhaps that's what it is. Right? Perhaps that's what it is. But, as I said, I give credit to the brother Farid Responds. I was watching the video with him, Farid, and Muhammad Hijab. No, that wasn't. I'm sorry, that was different. But the brother had it on his page. It wasn't Farid. It was Muhammad Hijab, and I forgot the other brother's name that he's in the video with, and they are addressing Christian Prince in that video on the same subject matter, right? On the same subject matter. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Any comments that we need to address? Let's see. What do we have in the comment? Was it Ali? Yeah, I think, was that it, brother Umar? Is that the brother you're saying that he was sitting with Ali? Was it Ali Dawa? I don't know if it was Ali Dawa. Maybe. I don't know. It was Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab. They were talking to Christian Prince on it. So let's see. What do we have in the comments here? Yeah, I was on Pal Talk. So Sahih Luke, if you want to come to Pal Talk after done here, yeah, I was on Pal Talk. There's a room that I am in on Pal Talk, but I'm doing my show right now, obviously. So, let's see. Yeah, and Muhammad Zakaria, yeah, you're saying that. Yeah, Christian Prince he claims that he can't debate in public because, he's in danger. But as I say, you can't be in no more danger than Robert Spencer. Can't be any more danger than David Wood. And the other speakers who speak against Islam openly and show their faces. So how are you more special than that? Right? How are you more special than them and they're willing to show their faces in public debates? Right? Robert Spencer still does speaking engagements everywhere. Right? So how and he has, I'm sure, and he has more books than you do, Christian Prince. Robert Spencer has more books than you do. He's on major news outlets, Fox News, CNN, showing his face. He's giving lectures at universities damn near every week. In institutions every week, damn near. So how is it that he can show his face, but somehow you're supposed to be the best? You're supposed to be the big bad destroyer of Islam, but yet you can't show your face more than them? And they're doing more stuff than you are, right? But you can't show your face, but Robert Spencer can show his face. He can debate in public, but you can't. David Wood can show his face and do public debates, but you can't. You're somehow better than them, but you can't show your face? Meanwhile, they're doing more than you, huh? But you can't show your face in a public debate? That's a lie. That's nonsense, everybody. That's him running. That's what that is. Because he knows. He won't do it because he knows that he won't be able to fare well without him being able to cut you off. Without him being able to cut your mic off. Or cut your feed off on the camera. Or hang up on you on the call-in show or whatever, right? He knows that if he was to go toe-to-toe, he wouldn't do well. So that's his excuse. Oh, I can't debate in public because it is. No. We know the real reason. Like I said, if all those other guys can debate in public, why can't you? Why can't you? Right? They're attacking Islam. They insult the Prophet Muhammad. They insult the Quran, Allah, etc. But they do public debates. So how are you, how are you much better, so big and bad that you can't debate in public, but they can? What makes you so special that you can't do it, but they can? Nothing makes you more special. That's the point. Nothing makes you more special. You just know deep down inside that you can't fare well if you were to debate in public, face to face. That's why you won't do it. But like I said, maybe he'll change his mind. Maybe he'll change his mind. But as I said, I don't want any of any of the haters who support him to come to my channel talking about go to his channel. No. Tell him to come to my channel. Tell your man that if he's so bad, tell him to step out of his comfort zone and come on over to face the challenge on this side. Tell him his fans, if you're one of his fans, tell him, hey, Christian Prince, go show those Muslims how bad you are. And step out of your comfort zone and go to one of their platforms and take them on. Okay? All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end the show. Part 2 of the exposing the deceptive tactics of Christian Prince. All right. So don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. All right. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. As I said, the notes that I used today, I will have them available to all my Patreon supporters. If you're not a Patreon supporter and you would like access to these notes, because I have notes from all my previous debates and previous shows, which you can use for your own personal use, for your own discussions and debates, whether you're at work or with family, friends. You can use them if you're having discussions online. They have a lot of useful information. So if you want access to those things, you must become my Patreon supporter. And of course, when you support me on Patreon, that helps me, inshallah, to continue to do more work. Some of you saw a few weeks ago, we were out there doing some things out on the street. Right? Well, your support will help us, inshallah, to do other, things, not only in that realm, but of course to expand our platform here in social media and on the internet. All right. So with that, we'll end it. You take care. Assalamu alaikum.